Okay, so we're just gonna get right into it because I'm not the type to be waiting around for these for these reflections, really, right? Because we have lots to talk about usually, and freezing in the moment is not it. We don't want to be in a pause, and we want to be in a space where we're speaking eloquently about the topic at hand, that we are looking for resolutions or potential resolutions, right? Because what you don't know, Abel, and that's on that. And we're recording from our iPhone, which isn't the best recording device, because I have to hold it like this. I'm looking at myself and I'm looking at the camera, and anyway, so we were just recording a reflection for the gram, and we were talking about the importance of allowing people who you think you know surprise you. Ultimately, and we all do this, I work very diligently on that not being the case, because I want to allow people to show me a different side of who they are. I like to allow people to adapt, and then whatever preconception that I may have, whatever presumption that forms from that interaction or from the historical context that you have with somebody, let's say it's your brother, let's say it's your sister, whatever, let's say it's a friend that you've had since childhood, really, anyone who you've known for a long time, right? It's important for us to hold space for them to change, to expand who they are, the identity of who they are. And oftentimes I find that we don't do that. We don't do that for one another, especially in family. And for me, I'll speak for myself, but with family, the interactions that I have, and it's windy, so if you don't hear me, it's okay, don't worry about it. That helicopter sounds like it's gonna fall, not gonna lie. But back to the conversation. Oftentimes with family, I find myself in a space where there are these limiting factors, is what I called them. These factors, or this idea, this perspective that you are who you are, and because we've known you for so long and we've grown up with you and we've seen you grown up, we've witnessed the majority of your life, that they know who you are. And I think that's so detrimental to the relationships that we continue to cultivate with our families, with our friends, whatever, right? It's important for us to allow others, especially family members, to expand the definition and the identity of who they are. We're constantly changing, we're constantly contradicting ourselves. We're not the same person, at least not me, bitch. I'm a Sagittarius, so with a Gemini moon, bitch, I'm changing my mind about who I am constantly and what I believe. And this is not to say that I am wavering and I'm flaky, or I don't have central core values to who I am, right? No, that's not what I'm saying. But there are parts of my identity that do shift, the idea of gender, for example, how I'm interacting one day with foods is another one, right? And so to have this idea that a family member should stay or is going to stay who they are completely and 100% of the time is ludicrous. It's fucking crazy. So really, this conversation for me is important to have with myself, Abel, as we speak to ourselves, right? Because it allows you to understand where people are functioning from. And if they're not functioning from a place of them allowing themselves to change, to shift their identities, to mold and sculpt the reality of who they are, how can you expect people to extend something that they don't have or they don't know? And I really hope you can hear me, because it's windy and the audio can get all warbled. Pero those are difficult conversations to have with yourself and with the people around you, because you're going to have to be in a place, or you're going to have to be in a space, in a headspace where strength is key. And oftentimes I find myself engaging in a conversation with my family, not having thought it through, thinking that I know more than I do, and not having things backing it up. And I appreciate my family for that. I appreciate that they really check me whenever I don't have all the facts or all of the information. But it's really important for us to be able to have this conversation with them and let them know, listen, I believe that we all are changing, that we all grow, that our tastes start to evolve over time, that we don't like the same things we used to as a kid, and those experiences that you've had with me are now contextual evidence of which you must consider, but not generalize the experience of who I am today. Because I am not the same person that you knew even yesterday. And that's a hard fact to accept, especially being Dominican and thinking that you know the people who you are around, and that sort of stability is important as a core family unit or whatever. If you have one, if you're lucky enough to have one. I am privileged enough to have a family unit that is still intact. My parents are still together, although I have comments on that. My parents are still together. My siblings, we interact with each other consistently, when I'm not in the parranda and shit. Pero those conversations are important. They're not easy. It's difficult to tell your family, like, yo, I don't feel like you're treating me the way that I want to be treated, because you're still treating me how you used to, based on information that you had previously that is no longer relevant to the way that you're interacting with me at the present day. So you're asking other people to get in an area of, or be in a space of discomfort, so that they are able to be introspective about how they are interacting with you. That at the end of the day, ask them to be introspective, to be more reflective about who they are and why they are interacting with you in this way. And that requires a little bit of work. And if you haven't done the work previously, if you're not someone who is able to be in a space alone, if you're not capable, or you haven't even thought about being reflective or engage in introspective thought, asking that from that person is going to take a lot more time to find resolution. And that is the problem that we're having, Abed, is that we think that as we grow, as we evolve, as the resolutions come to us, the understanding comes to us, as that happens, we have to extend grace to others to build that same thing for you, and not, or with you, right? And for you to let them develop and grow in a similar fashion in whatever way they need to grow, right? So that you're able to move that relationship forward, you're able to expand the definitions of how you love one another. But the difficulty still exists. So because you are so hard on yourself, Abel, talking to you, because you are so hard on yourself, it's really easy for you to get into this headspace that is hypercritical, that is judgmental, that expects the highest of standards, right? But then because you extend that to yourself, you start extending that specifically to friends and family, because you do it subconsciously, you do it without even thinking. It's kind of like an automatic thing. But now that we are more aware of what that is and how that's affecting our relationships and how our relationships are growing and evolving, it's important for us to understand that moving forward, if we don't keep that in mind, if we don't keep in mind that people also require the space, the time, and the quite frankly the thought, right, the work behind what it means to evolve the self. If they don't have it, then they can't meet you where you're at. So because you have the tools, you meet them where they're at. You find the language that they speak, and you start to cultivate respect. You start to cultivate a sense of curiosity with one another rather than functioning from a place of defensiveness and attack. And then you're able to restructure the relationship in the way that is most beneficial and most fruitful to all parties involved. Ija. But I'll leave it there because I can go on and on and on, and I don't want to repeat myself and iterate the same thing a million different ways. So it was a beautiful talk. And remember, Abel, that I love you so deeply. And thank you so much for having this journey with me and for allowing yourself to share this journey with other people, because it has never been easy for us to do, but I know, and we know, that sharing our experience can somehow, and has somehow, provided light and balance and, understanding of the darkness for others. So continue to do that, and do it without shame, judgment, or guilt. And peace out.